The new leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics has been revealed to the world on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. Cardinal Robert Prevost will be known as Pope Leo XIV, a missionary from Chicago. He spent most of his career in Peru. The 69-year-old is the first US Pope and is regarded as a progressive in the mould of his predecessor, Francis. "You must help us and help one another to build bridges," he told the tens of thousands of cheering onlookers in St. Peter's Square for his opening address. Well, let's cross over live now to our religion correspondent, Alva Keneally. Alva, what a day, the spectacle, the pageantry, the music, the bells, and a Pope who, shall we say, wasn't in the short list of contenders.
I think that's fair. It was just after 6 o'clock here when the white smoke billowed from the Sistine Chapel, the first indication to the wider world that cardinal electors had chosen a new pope. And few expected that the name Cardinal Robert Prevost would be announced, and fewer still expected that the new pope would be from America. But Cardinal Leo XIV, or Pope Leo XIV, he has worked a lot in South America and in Rome. Therefore, he's viewed as worldly, he's viewed as humble, and he's viewed as a bridge builder.
A puff of white smoke, then a plume. Instantly, an eruption of joy in St. Peter's Square. And at once, an emphatic signal that cardinals had chosen a new pope. But also an unmistakable sign of unity in the Catholic Church. An election after just a handful of ballots and less than 2 days sequestered in the Sistine Chapel. After some talk of division and dissatisfaction about the direction of the Church under Pope Francis, many had hoped that the 133 cardinal electors would come to a quick decision, and that they did.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus papam.
It was on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica that the faithful got a glimpse of their new spiritual leader. The weight of guiding 1.4 billion Catholics will now rest on the shoulders of Cardinal Robert Prevost, or Pope Leo XIV. Born in Chicago, he served as prefect of the dicastery for bishops under Pope Francis. He similarly values Francis's championing of the poor and had spent much of his life working in Peru. As the 69-year-old takes on the biggest responsibility to date, a 2,000-year-old story turns a page.
Alva, what's known about the new Pope's chosen residence, his plans for the next few days, his first trip outside the Vatican? Do we know any of that detail yet?
It's pretty scant so far. What we do know is Pope Leo XIV has returned to Santa Marta Guest House tonight, where he'll spend his first night as Pope with the cardinal electors who elected him as Pope today. All eyes will be on him tomorrow now for the first day of his pontificate. He'll celebrate Mass in the Sistine Chapel with cardinals, and then his first public appearance is expected at St. Peter's Basilica on Sunday. Will he echo the papacy of Francis? Will he move into the Vatican papal apartment? That is a question that remains outstanding. And will he be driven in the papal limousine, which Francis did not choose to be driven in? I mean, either way, he'll have to forge his own path because ultimately this is a new chapter for the Catholic Church.
Alva, thank you. Well, Robert Prevost, with his strong grounding in canon law, is also seen as reassuring to more conservative cardinals seeking a greater focus on theology. Following Francis's death, the now Pope said there was still so much to do in the work of the Church.
Just 2 years ago, Robert Francis Prevost was made a cardinal by Pope Francis, who brought him to Rome that same year to head the Vatican office in charge of choosing which priests should serve as Catholic bishops around the world. It was an important role within the Church and one that saw him in regular contact with the late pontiff.
He would have met Pope Francis every Saturday morning at 7:30. It was his first appointment. Every Saturday he met Pope Francis. So he would have had a huge rapport with them and would have known him very well.
Born in Chicago in 1995 to parents of Ecuadorian and French descent, he received a master's degree in divinity from Chicago's Catholic Theological Union in 1982 and a doctorate degree in canon law in Rome. And then in 1985, he joined the Augustinians in Peru for the first of his decade-long missions in that country.
He has been the leader of the Augustinian group or order throughout the world for 2 terms. I think he spent a lot more time outside of the States than he has inside the States. So he's got the experience of being with different peoples.
He served as a bishop in Chiclayo in northwestern Peru from 2015 to 2023, and he became a Peruvian citizen, so he has dual nationalities. And many of those who've engaged with him, be it in the US, Peru or in Rome, speak of his warm nature.
I was privileged to talk to him, and I found him incredibly kind, incredibly straightforward, very gentle man, and someone very personable, someone you could get on with.
As a cardinal, he attracted interest from his peers because of his quiet style and his support for Pope Francis, especially his commitment to social justice issues. Following the late pontiff's death, Cardinal Prevost gave an interview to Vatican News in which he said there was still much to do in the work of the Church. We can't stop, we can't turn back, he said. Laura Fletcher, RTE News.
President Michael D. Higgins has sent his congratulations to the new Pope and welcomed his promise to lead with compassion and wisdom. The Taoiseach also said he looks forward to working with the new Pope as an important and influential partner. Leo XIV is well known to members of the Augustinian order here, having served as leader of the world's Augustinians from 2001 to 2013.
A warm welcome for Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost. Welcome to the world this evening as Pope Leo XIV. And today, in his finest hour, the newly elected Pope had his fair share of support from his fellow Americans.
Hopefully a positive for the world and America and just peace.
I was not expecting it. I even told somebody yesterday, I said there's not going to be an American Pope in my lifetime, and I was proved wrong. So
I'm so shocked to have an American Pope, but I feel so blessed that God has driven me here, and this is amazing.
That support was shared by US President Donald Trump, who congratulated the pontiff in a post on Truth Social, describing the decision as a great honour for his country. Back home, Taoiseach Micheál Martin said he looked forward to working with Pope Leo XIV as an important and influential partner in addressing the many interlinked challenges facing the world. The Irish Church too welcomed the choice of the conclave.
His reach is huge across the world, and he has that missionary spirit, and that was very much in the genre of Francis. You know, he always was speaking the church is missionary, the church has to go out, it can't confine itself within the walls of the church.
He will be using, like Francis did, the moral authority of the papacy, which is very important given the moral bankruptcy there is politically around the world at the moment, to have a bit of hope on the horizon as Francis gave us, and I think Leo XIV will do the same.
It's amazing, and the name and the American Pope, and it's a new beginning in the Catholic Church.
I'll keep him in my prayers, and I'm sure we all will, because it's a really tough job.
For others, a hope that Pope Leo will continue his predecessor's legacy of reform, particularly on the Church's history of abuse in Ireland.
Well, I think that legacy has to be continued by whoever becomes Pope, even though, things have advanced, and Francis, in fairness, moved when he finally came to terms with what was going on. But I think that legacy is still out there.
All remains to be seen as the newly elected Pope settles into the papacy. Barry Gallagher, RTE News.
Pope Leo XIV faces challenges both within and outside the Church, chief among them to clarify the role of women and address falling vocations. As head of the Holy See, he will also be called upon to show leadership on global conflicts and social justice.
Pope Leo XIV inherits a church divided, split between progressive and conservative traditions. The new Pope will have other global issues to contend with: the rise of artificial intelligence, the climate crisis and relations with China, to name just a few. However, for many, his biggest challenge will be addressing the role of women and improving relations with LGBT members of the congregation. While Francis appointed women to senior positions, such as the first woman prefect of a Curia department, women weren't named as deacons as many had hoped.
Smoke out sexism!
Prompting the laity to demand that the Vatican stop excluding half of the world's population from having a full role in the church, including women being ordained as priests.
This is a tipping point moment, and many women are looking at the conclave and the future of the church to see and asking themselves, is there a place for me here?
The legacy of sexual abuse remains a major challenge. Francis opened up Vatican archives to lay courts and made it compulsory to report abuse to church authorities. Survivors said the measures didn't go far enough. The new Pope will need to act decisively. Another pressing issue is reform of the Roman Curia and tackling the Vatican's finances. Francis clamped down on corruption and stepped up scrutiny of investments and the Vatican Bank. The Holy See continues to face a chronic budget deficit, estimated at around €30 million in 2022, amid a decline in donations from the faithful. Finally, the new Pope will face pressures to address the vocational crisis. The number of faithful is growing in the Southern Hemisphere but declining across Europe. And the total number of priests is also dropping, down by 0.2% in 2023 to just under 407,000. Pope Leo leads a diverse community of 1.4 billion Catholics, a church that is less white, less European and less Western than ever before. The pontiff will likely aim to unite the church's modernisers and conservatives.
There is a grouping who would self-describe as conservative, who feel that there's a need for a papacy that, in a sense, provides what they see as greater stability and greater clarity on that. But then I don't think there's a simple progressive group that you can describe on the other hand. I think there's a mix, a really interesting mix.
Pope Leo XIV will also have to balance the theological and pastoral aspects of the synod with spiritual leadership for the faithful, all while forging a new path for the Roman Catholic Church. Dimitri O'Donnell, RTE News.
Let's cross over now to our Washington correspondent, Sean Whelan. Sean, the first US-born Pope, how are they embracing this news where you are?
Well, they are embracing it, Sharon. The first reaction here amongst many American observers was shock. They didn't expect an American Pope to be named, they thought, because America is the preeminent economic, military, political power in the world, that having a Pope ahead of the Roman Catholic Church, an American as well, would send out the wrong kind of message. But that has come to pass. There is an American Pope now, and a lot of people are feeling a lot of pride about that because, like any other country, when you gain or win, as it were, the presidency, you tend to feel natural pride in that. The Catholic Church in America is the biggest of the Christian denominations in this country. About 1 in 5 Americans are Catholics. The Vice President himself, J.D. Vance, is a Catholic. But the Pope, people have been trawling through his social media posts, and they found some posts where he's critical of things that J.D. Vance has said. He's been critical of President Trump's deportation policies of migrants, and the fact that he served for so long in Peru, served as a missionary, served as a bishop down there, means that people expect him to take the side, as it were, of migrants to America, looking for a fair treatment, fair deal of them. And people are wondering just how good of a relationship he's going to have with the President of the United States. President Trump himself said it is a great honor to have an American citizen who is the Pope of the Catholic Church. But how that relationship plays out, he's supposed to be quite a good diplomat, somebody who can bridge both Catholic and liberal sides in the church. He did that in Peru. We'll see how he fares with the president.
Sean Whelan in Washington, thank you. Turning now to our main story, the election of Pope Leo XIV as the 267th pontiff. Mass goers at Knock Basilica gave their reaction to the news and outlined their hopes for his pontificate.
The bells of Knock Shrine rang aloud after the election of Pope Leo XIV. At Mass tonight, prayers were offered for the new head of the Catholic Church.
We pray for him, we pray that his ministry will be successful.
The name is very interesting, Leo XIV, coming after Leo XIII, obviously, who was a huge figure in the life of the Church in terms of Catholic social teaching. He kicked it off, really. So there's that connection in terms of mindful of the working man and woman.
I guess we're happy, number one, that he's from the United States. And number two, he's from Villanova University, which is right in our area. And, we're hoping that he'll be a great leader of our church.
He's quite young too, he's in his 60s, I think. So I think the youth is there, which is good as well, So, yeah, I think it looks promising.
Hopefully that he could in some way bring peace to the world, unite the world in some way. There's such unrest everywhere.
I want to see him continue reaching out to the poor and the marginalised and just being basically a man of faith.
And being an Augustinian too, we know he will have a great love of those who are sinners and needing his help.
And the poor. And the poor. He's a mendicant monk, so there's hope for us.
I'd be very hopeful. Now we'll have to see what this man is going to bring. I wish him the best.
Many people we've spoken to this evening were very positive about the election of Pope Leo XIV, and they said they hope he can continue the good work of his predecessor, Pope Francis. Shane O'Corrine, RTE News, Knock, County Mayo.
Well, Emer McCarthy is a former Vatican radio journalist and anchor, and she's standing by for us now. Emer, thank you for talking to us on the programme. Reading through the wires, the new Pope, he's described as unassuming, soft-spoken, and I'm just wondering, will he have the same tenacity of his predecessor, that ability to speak truth to power, I wonder?
Well, I don't think we should confuse the tone of his voice with the power of the words that he actually used in his first public discourse this evening. His very first word was peace. And it was obviously that was the main focus of his first public discourse to the people gathered in St. Peter's, but also to world leaders. He spoke of building bridges, which is something that many popes have spoken of beforehand. But I think we should look at the languages that he actually used. He chose to use Italian, of course, which is the language of the Diocese of Rome, of which he is now bishop. And then he moved to Spanish. Now, he is being billed as the first Pope from the United States of America. He was born in Chicago, but he was formed as a priest. He was formed as a missionary. He was formed as a bishop in Peru, in Latin America. He was formed there where it is a country of very difficult context, of immense poverty. So that speaks to the fact that he's very aware of the huge gap there is between the global north and the global south. And he is very aware of the current context of walls being built and not bridges. And I think that's why he chose to use Spanish as his second language to communicate with the world, to show whose side I think that he is trying to promote and who he is trying to help, looking out to taking care of those who have been perhaps disadvantaged by the current change in global powers that we are seeing throughout the world. So I thought that was very, very interesting.
Emer, thank you indeed for that.